What's up, desktoppers? In this video, we discuss Arnold Schwarzenegger's comments on Big Ramy from the 2022 Mr. Olympia when he's interviewed by Nick Strength and Power just yesterday. Also, the Arnold Amateur is back on in 2023. We discuss what went down with that and why the sudden change. And I asked the question, would Big Ramy, 11 weeks out of the 2022 Mr. Olympia, have actually won the 2022 Mr. Olympia? So we got all that plus much more coming up in this video, guys. I hope you enjoy it. What's up, desktoppers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and let's get straight into this one. So as I mentioned, Nick Strength and Power interviewed Arnold Schwarzenegger yesterday, and let's get straight into what was said. And I'll be responding and reacting to some of that. So let's get straight into it, guys.
Big Ramy, he could have won again. I mean, all he had to do is just stay the same the way he was and, decrease his waist by 1 inch and increase his calves by 1 inch. That's all he had to do all year long. And he would have won again. But what a lot of these guys do is they think bigger is better. And bigger is not better. I mean, better is when you go and create more symmetry, when you create more definition, more muscle separation, and that you have a body.
So Arnold wanted Ramy to bring this waist in 1 inch. Now that's not a super wide waist, but when he crunches down into that, obviously the obliques seem pretty apparent that they come out sideways a fair bit. And from the front, when he's from the side, he doesn't have a gut, like his waist doesn't pop out. So the waist for me wasn't the big issue. Yeah, the obliques are a little thicker maybe, but the calves aren't something that are going to come up. And he says all he had to do was bring them up 1 inch. They're still pretty big calves overall. It looks like the inside of a calf is not going to come up, and it looks like it's almost atrophying a little bit. And we see that a lot on a lot of guys. So I don't think that Big Ramy could have really brought a waist in 1 inch. That would have been tough from this point. You can see it's a little bit thicker here, so Arnold might have a point. But the calves, I think, was always going to be tough. But let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. But let's go back to Arnold.
It doesn't steal something from the other body part. Like, for instance, to give you an example, when I saw Ramy, his double bicep from the front and the back, it's awesome. But the deltoids now and the upper pectoral muscles that go kind of into the, deltoid, that when he lifts up, now is so enormous that it actually made his enormous biceps, and his big arms, it made it disappear. All of a sudden, his arms looked smaller than they were. Why? Because his deltoids were overshadowing kind of his bicep and his arms.
So Arnold believes that Ramy's delts and chest and everything are overshadowing his arms. So let's have a look at Big Ramy on stage at the 2022 Mr. Olympia and decide, is that the case? So let's look at the back double bicep as Arnold mentioned. Is his deltoids overshadowing his arms? Arnold's not super wrong here, because when you look at that, when he's hitting his back double bicep, the arms are noticeably smaller than, earlier in the year when we got to see Ramy in these physique updates where he hits the back double bicep there. And it seems like Big Ramy is a huge amount bigger here. And the arms seem a lot thicker as well. They're not, peaking up well above the delts or anything like that, but there just seems to be more thickness, especially in the triceps, which a lot of people spoke about. But maybe there is a little bit of atrophy in that left tricep there from that video. But let me know what you think in the comments below on that. But let's go back to Arnold and Nick.
That is extremely important to create a body and to chisel away on that body and to mold the body to perfection, not to bigger. Because bigger is not, I mean, he was already so huge. The winners that they picked this year, I couldn't even criticize one placing, because as we all know, it's a matter of opinion anyway, right? So, I mean, of course, one can say, well, Derek maybe was better than Hardy, and Nick was better than Brian, all of this kind of things. That always goes on. But the bottom line is, when I look at the top 5 of the Olympia, I thought that the judges did really a great job.
I've got to agree with Arnold here because when I look at those placings, like when everyone came out at first and they put them in their individual lineups, which are not even guys they're being compared with necessarily. They could be in a lineup where it's, four other guys or five other guys, and it could be one really good guy. And, they've got to make the decision, okay, is that one really good guy that much better than all these other guys that he would be comparable to the first call out or second call out? So they made some pretty quick calls on how these guys looked. And it seemed like a lot of their first, I suppose, initial reactions and their first call outs were pretty spot on through a lot of the actual judging. So I've got to commend the judges there, and Arnold was impressed with it as well. And I think for good reason. So shout out to the judges because, you can complain about one or two placings here and there, and we'll talk about that in some future videos. But I think they did an amazing job overall in such a tough Olympia to judge. I think we don't realize it as fans because we can go back and look at all this footage much later. But yeah, as a judge, you got to decide right there, and they were pushed for time as well.
I think so. As a matter of fact, I would say in general, the posing has improved amongst the bodybuilders, which really pleases me. I think that we are now at around an average of around a 7. I think we can go to a 10. So there's a lot of room still in posing for drama. Well, first of all, let me just say that.
So what I find really cool about that is Arnold's actually giving credit to these guys for working on their routines more. And I noticed that at the Olympia this year. Not every routine was amazing, but when you got guys like Samson Dowder and whatnot in the opens doing these really good routines, and I think everyone wants to do and show the entertainment aspect now because the Olympia is becoming a bigger production. And all these guys are so close. If they can stand out in a certain way and show that they're a really good poser or can do, certain things with their posing, they're going to be more available for guest posings and whatnot as well. So I think that it's a great thing. And I think that these guys are sort of almost pushed by these classic guys doing such great routines. And I think it actually does matter. And I think it should be judged, and it should at least be judged to even if it's a small extent. I think it should be actually counted in to the judging. But let me know your thoughts on that. Should posing routines actually count in bodybuilding?
There's some people that said that the amateur competition is not going to be part of it anymore. The amateur competition is part of it. I think maybe there's someone within our organization felt that we don't need it, but I straightened that out right away because to me, I do need it, simply because I want to promote amateur bodybuilding.
That wouldn't be Brian Powers that made that mistake, would it?
We have a whole team. I don't point the finger at anybody, but I mean, I just can tell you that.
By Arnold's reaction, I would guess yes, maybe, but yeah, Brian Powers obviously has come in. It seems like semi-recently and has started taking over or has taken over some of the operations there. I believe I don't know if he's a director of the Arnold Classic or what his exact role is, but I should know that off the top of my head. But yeah, he's obviously playing a big role with the Arnold Classic, and there has been obviously some controversy around the Arnold Classic and whatnot as well. But I've actually reached out to Brian, and hopefully I can have a chat with him at some point.
It was a miscommunication, and so I made sure that it's back in and that everyone knows that amateur is back. If it's for women, for men, it never left and it never will leave.
So Arnold says it never left and it never will leave. That's actually not 100% true because this was actually posted on the Arnold Classic website or the Arnold Sports Festival website. And as you can see, it basically says it's been postponed indefinitely and will not be held at the 2023 Arnold Sports Festival. This includes all divisions for the 2023 Arnold Amateur, and then it talks about refunds for people that have already registered to compete. So it seems like that is definitely not the case. It did definitely leave. Was it obviously agreed upon by everyone? It doesn't seem that way, and it seems like Arnold did not tick that one off. And when he obviously found out or was informed, he made sure that that was actually corrected. So it's great news that Arnold is staying loyal to bodybuilding. And obviously we heard it was because of what's going on with the Washington Post articles, and we heard J.M. Mannion is not allowed at the Arnold Classic, and we don't know if that's actually true now or not. But that's what we've heard, and that's what we know so far. So it's great news that the Arnold Classic Amateur is back in the Arnold Classic in Columbus this year coming. So that's great news, and let me know if you're competing in that Arnold Classic Amateur as well. But let's discuss Big Ramy, and would he have actually won the 2022 Mr. Olympia if he looked like he did 11 weeks out? Because look at that front relax. It is absolutely crazy, next level. And I would love to know how conditioned this would have looked on stage. Would it have been enough for Big Ramy to actually take out the title? Because you got to admit that is a full, dense, enormous look. And this was 11 weeks out, and I can't remember how many weeks out he posted up, but he was 150 something kilograms, and he was about 350 pounds. Now, it makes me wonder if, people have said bigger isn't better, and maybe getting maybe the biggest he's ever been. It seemed like this off season and around the start of his prep, maybe that did cause issues on his physique. And when he did lose a little bit of that muscle coming down, potentially, I'm just speculating, potentially it showed up some issues on his physique, and it caused some impingement issues and whatnot in his back, and maybe some nerve issues that didn't allow him to open up into that back double bicep. And we see it here at 11 weeks out. And while he still doesn't open it up a huge amount, to me, that looks more impressive on the back double bicep than what we saw at the 2022 Mr. Olympia. Because when you go to this back double bicep, as we go into it, seems like he had no real ability. That was his fully opened up back double bicep, I believe there. Yeah, you can see it doesn't get any better than that. It's pinched in. You can see there on the lats as well. And when you go back to the 11-week out version, the traps are not pulled together in that same way. So you can see the traps are all spread out. You can see how wide the traps go at the top of his back there. And then you go back to the 2022 Mr. Olympia version, and you can see clearly those traps are pinched together. He cannot open up his back for whatever reason. It was a little bit better at finals, which I think helped him get some better call-outs, although he did get a worse score at finals. But yeah, for whatever reason, he could not open up his back at the 2022 Mr. Olympia, as you can see from the footage from 11 weeks out of that 2022 Mr. Olympia. So was there an injury between 11 weeks out and show day? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and look how monstrous that is. And we did not see that Big Ramy on stage at the 2022 Mr. Olympia, unfortunately. Can he resurrect these issues? Is it all injuries? Is it something else? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And guys, make sure if you haven't liked and subscribed to this channel, make sure you like this video at least anyway. Subscribe, hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up from myself, Xavier Wills, at Desktop Bodybuilding. So for myself, Xavier Wills, this is Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are